All right, so switching gears here from AWS to CCNA, Intro to Networks specifically. I have a command line guide that I wrote for myself in order to pass my hands-on exams, and I did want to demonstrate those commands. So this is going to cover the full gamut, and I just want to talk about the exam as well. I'm not certified. This is kind of me studying for the certification, in quarantine. Two certifications I'm really focused on are AWS and CCNA, ultimately, because they're the highest grossing. In my opinion, it's not an intermediate, or it's not a beginner certification. It's actually complicated, especially if you look at the updates, which kind of added in some material that's not represented in any other certification exam, and then there's also some of it that's brought it into similarity with Network Plus. So there was an update to the exam. The material I'm working from is prior to that. So as I do these labs, if you're going to attempt to cheat based on what I'm doing, it's not going to work. Um, to be honest, you're going to have times where you're going to have to use online resources. Now, um, that's beneficial and also detrimental. So another thing is I did an associate's program at Texas State Technical College. Now that's the largest trade school in the state of Texas. And my opinion is that I would have preferred to have just done it on my own. And the reason is that the way the course is structured, not the Intro to Networks course, but the way the courses are structured, particularly the routing and switching, which is the second semester, is really just insane. So you'll typically have a week, and you'll have a quiz, an exam, multiple packet traces, and multiple labs. The labs and the packet tracers you can pretty much do on their own. Okay, so often you'll see a lab that will just kind of have a cheat sheet within a lab that will tell you what's going on, and then you're supposed to extrapolate from what you're doing the answers that you're supposed to get. There is a lot more critical thinking in the material than there is on like the A plus or any of the CompTIA stuff. CompTIA stuff is just rote. It's not, most of it's not critical thinking, and the small portion of the exam that is related to that is pretty simple if you've done it before. So that's the key difference. They obviously don't want to hand out easily a certification that will net you, 50 or 60,000 a year starting, depending on where you're at. So the most difficult thing you're going to do in your first semester is subnetting and VLSM. But even that is basic mathematics. So there's also a logical leap in some of the material where you're doing packet tracers and labs, and you're not doing cumulative stuff really. And then you're expected on an exam to be able to regurgitate it all, you know, stick it all together. So probably what you should be doing as you're going through the labs and the packet tracers is pretty much building your own and trying to be creative about it. Because ultimately, really just that's what you want to know how to do. You want to know how to go in and on your own just be able to set up a network. Ultimately, if you do the CCNA track, I mean, you're going to go from your LANs all the way to your WANs, and you'll pretty much be able to do all that from the admin side. So that's pretty powerful. Of course, majority of the times, if you're a networking tech, you're probably going to be just administering what's already been set up, and that's a million times easier than setting it up yourself. There'll be an established system in terms of how the network is subnetted. It will already be set up. You'll pretty much have to just plug in new stuff where it's supposed to go numerically. So there'll be, a set of addresses that are known to be administrative. Those will be used as opposed to host addresses. So that's a lot easier. I've run into people that were working in the network that were networking techs, and they couldn't tell me the difference between EIGRP and OSPF. So, and they didn't know the OSI model very well to the extent that it's expected on the exam. So I've known people that are IT professionals that do not have any certifications that are making 40, 50K a year. So it really depends on how you play your cards, how connected you are in your town, how you treat your internship, and how you treat your college. So, yeah. All right, so I'm going to look at this here. So you want, now on your exam, you're going to have to, if you do a packet tracer, let's say through your phone, you probably have to connect it this way. I mean, you want to connect your PC to your router with a console cable. All right, so yeah, we don't want to do the initial configuration. That just gets weird. So all right. Not going to show. See, I have to go in here. Get my capture device working. All right, so we have entered the device. We want to configure the terminal, big T. These commands will also work on the switch, obviously. You want to configure your host name. You're naming the device. Okay, there we go. Now your VTY, or your terminal lines. Your logging command. Now line con 0, that's literally your console line. Now, as you're in the interface here, you go up and down, obviously, to select the back to your command. All right, now we want to get out of that. Now that server's password encryption hashes your passwords in the router's configuration file. So there is a method to see your running and your saved configuration on the device. and basically you'll be able to see the password in plain text if you don't do that. Obviously, that's very bad. We don't want to do that. Now, this is your message of the day. Easy to remember because we have a nice acronym in the command itself. All right. All right, and so yeah, we have that. Now, copy, run, start. You want to make sure you do this. I've had labs where I did not remember to do this. These labs are grueling as you get up there in your studies. You just want to, well, you want to do it at the right point. Yeah, because what I was doing there is I was trying to run it at in the configuration terminal and it doesn't work. So obviously it'll just cycle through if it doesn't work. There are some commands like that. It's easy to forget. All right, so it's now done. It's now saved that. So, all right, let's say you want to configure your loopback. Loopback address used for testing on a PC, but a lot of times what you're going to do is you want to send your garbage packets to the loopback address. You also, if you're building redundancy, you want to have all unnecessary traffic going there because it just doesn't do anything. It doesn't screw up the rest of your network. So yeah, you can router rip, turn off auto summarization. So what that prevents it from doing once you get into your layer 3 protocols, okay, your routing like EIGRP and OSPF. What you want it to do, now, RIP is also a protocol. RIP is used for discovery. It's going to be used on LANs, but router to router, you don't use it. You just use it for testing, really. So you turn off auto summary. That prevents it from summarizing the IP addresses, because when it does that, it doesn't find the hosts correctly, and it just messes things up. So we want to turn that off. Next command in this will be passive interface. So if I can remember the syntax. Now, if you do that, obviously what I just did, passive interface, question mark, enter, it's going to show you some options. All right, so that marks that interface is not part of whatever you're attempting to do. So if you have a pool, basically your EIGRP network is contained, you want one interface where it's not sending and receiving updates. Typically that's going to be from one layer 3 device to another, okay? Because you don't want them screwing with each other. They just want to be communicating properly on layer 3, because typically you'll have your router and maybe your switch, and your switch will be connected to your PCs, and you do not want those updates passing along. So for instance, go ahead and switch this back. show you what I mean. I talk with my hands, but this is more illustrative than my digits. So typically, I have this here. Alright, so we got 0, 0 on passive interface. So in this example, we don't want to go in this way, right? Because that ERG, if we had an ERG network here, small layer 3 setup, right? We had maybe more than one PC. We don't want it happening between those two. This is all going to be kind of jumbled together, so we'll see what happens in whether this works or not. So now you can keep going with these commands as well. So all right, more interface stuff, pretty simple. So let's say we want to look at the other gigabit interface on here. I have to get out of the that. There we go. Because we're still in the. See, that was in the routing interface rather than just a regular configuration, so the command didn't work. And I don't have interface. There we go. All right, so that's how you turn it on, right? Because those are going to be shut down by default. So that the gigabit Ethernet interface 0/1 is now up. Then I add a cable between PC 0 and the router. Straight through cables. It's already working. All right, so now you would. This is how you give it an IP. You will do this a million times. Cisco has a great feature where if you screw up your subnet, it will immediately tell you. So if that was out of whack, or I was attempting to assign a non-usable address, it would immediately tell me. So, of course, you got your gigabit Ethernet, you've got your fast Ethernet, and you got your serial ports. That's on all of it. It's on every device. Alright, so let's see if we can get this done. I've used this command forever. Nope. Alright. Try this one. So let's go back to our line commands. Let's see if I can actually run these. Okay, so if we establish the domain, we're putting on a domain when we use that command. So IP domain /name ccnalab.com. Basically, you're just adding it to a domain at that point. Typos. Username admin, and yeah, we've got a password associated with it as well. So privilege level 15, highest. All right. So we've got secret. Oh man, the typo repeated. The madness that's happening here. All right, so let's see again what this is. Okay, and now we want to get into our terminal lines because we want to set up SSH access transport input SSH login local exit crypto key generate RSA modulus 1024. Screw something up. Okay, what this command does is it just generates a key. So it generates an RSA key. That's changed. So it's basically you want to generate a key of 1024 bits in this case, pretty much the smallest you can get away with. Okay. There you go. SSH is enabled on those terminal lines, which is really what we want. All right. So hopefully. Now this will establish, we can get it to work. So what that's going to do is that means your passwords are going to have to be a minimum length of 10 characters. Of course, that's standard with any security organization, security standard, right? Whether the 10 characters include X number of special characters, numbers, and whatnot, depends on whether it's general or incredibly secure that you want. Your executive timeout, set to 5 minutes. Okay, so after 5 minutes, it just times out. Now, I don't know what happened with this command. It's probably changed. I'm going to have to figure that out. Okay, so IPv6, kind of similar. Let's go to 0.1 and let's see what we can do to it. need to kind of blow this up because people can't see it. It's tiny. Alright. It's finished in my fucking mouth. Alright. So we're in the gigabit 0/1 interface, which is to the PC. And basically, you want to assign it an IPv6 address. IPv6 address. And we're going to use standard format. That's got the IPv6 address established. And we give it a default gateway, or the equivalent. And we activate it. Oh yeah, and before we do any of this, every time you do IPv6, you have to turn it on. Alright, so let's pretend we screwed up, right? Which we kind of did, because of the exact timeout. Going on a race. Yes, NVRAM erased. There we go. So those were router. There are some router commands that won't work on a switch because you're dealing with a layer 2 switch. Obviously, as technology advances, we're going to have more layer 3 switches. And basically it won't be as much of an issue, I don't think. Alright, so throw this one away. Okay, so we are in back here. Now I'm going to throw another PC on here. So we need the console into the switch. There we go. Now on an actual system, you're going to use PuTTY to do this, which I've demonstrated in the AWS. I'm sure it's literally the same, except instead of your WAN IP, which I was using that example, you would use the IP, the SVI of the switch. So the switch virtual interface that allows you to manage it. Now, I am going to have to to set up the SVI on here. So we're just going to establish whether it's going to work. Usually you want to use VLAN 99, but wait, I already have this open. What am I doing? It wants to post a document, or you want to get some switch interface. Alright. Swap it back over. What's happening? There we go. Alright. So, we're going to switch. And it's not our first radio, because we already did the router. Oh, yeah, it can't be capitalized. No. It is midnight. Alright, see? Properly named. So I'm just going to use a VLAN 50. As long as we know it's the admin VLAN, that's fine. So, once your virtual network there, VLAN. So let's just give it an address. We use 240. Oh yeah, no connection to the router. Okay. Fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it to this router here. I want to give it a default gateway. The default gateway is going to be 192.168.1.49. So what we're going to do is we'll go in here. So I'm going to do IP address. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reserve that address on router IP address. Turn the interface on, no shutdown. State changes to up, IP address. So I'm giving it, 255.255.255.0, so we got a /32 there. So the connection between the two is up. I'm going to go ahead and note that. Note that address. It's easy to forget, obviously. So we've now got the administrative VLAN set up. So what I want to do also is name it. Copy one start on the router. Close it out. So for VLAN 50, we're going to name it admin. That's what it does. It's our administrative VLAN. So, okay, and we want to do stuff to the, let's say we want to establish other VLANs just for the hell of it. And it can't have spaces. And I'm in the wrong spot, maybe. And I'm not using name, that's why. VLAN 5, okay. So, we got links between networking devices. What do we want to do? The layer 2 switch cannot route. Okay, it doesn't know how to do that. Operates with MAC addresses. Okay, operates on layer 2. So it's getting connected to a router, and it has to know what to do with that information that's coming into it. So the trunks. And we want to have it connect to this PC. Okay, so we're going to have to, here's what I'm going to do. It's easier to navigate if I just close out. I think it'll go back to the previous screen. Yes. All right, so for demonstration purposes, let's put it on Ethernet 1, just so we remember it. And we'll put it on to the here. So we now have an Ethernet link, and it's not up. Now the logging synchronous command, I'm just doing a repeat command, see if I remembered it. And of course, not all of them. All right, so logging synchronous prevents the router or switch from just spamming you with failure messages. If you don't do that and you set up logging, you're gonna just your terminal screen is gonna be dying. Okay, no, we don't want Steve Bannon. We want the banner message of the day. Alright, so just want to demonstrate what happens. So, you exit out, and you come in, and you're going to see your banner message of the day. Now, for legal purposes, when you do that in an organization, that has to be like a disclaimer. So it has to be something that clearly indicates to people that might be hacking that there are going to be legal repercussions. So we'll just say that we're going to prosecute you for the extent of the law, because that basically will. Oh man, it's not even showing what I was talking about. That's God, I hate using software like this, and I can't even. That's weird because I'm looking right at it and it's not showing up on the screen. I am in PC One's internet. It doesn't. OBS is not. OBS is great. That's what this is. Let's try. Okay, so I've got it back up. So, yeah, we'll go back into terminal here. I can scroll up and I think it will show you. These are just some repeat commands that I'm going through, but I wanted to show the banner message of the day. You'll see it right here. Like I said, legal purposes, that has to be a disclaimer that lets them know that they can't proceed. Now, I'll have to do some of the switchboard security commands later because I have to really get down to brass tacks and familiarize myself with them again because it's been a while. So, I'm going to do now. We're actually going to do some access commands for VLANs. So this, we're giving it access. So switchboard access. So basically, because it's on the LAN, we want it to be able to have that information from the VLAN, because that's where it's going to be getting its IP addressing information. So if we got unused ports on the switch, which we do, look at all those down ports. So what do you want to do? Alright. Easy way to do this. We don't want to go in one at a time and disable them. That's really stupid. So let's say, what was it, 2 through 24. On fast Ethernet, we can just turn them off. Alright, they've been turned off. So you'll see the link is up. PC1 is, how's it doing? So yeah, that's an example of how you would do some of those commands. I have more. But yeah, for now, I just wanted to try and demonstrate some of that, and I'll throw it out there. So now it's backed up. And yeah, what I'll probably try to do is I'll do another one on router on a stick configuration. So again, router on a stick is just how you get your VLANs to communicate with a layer 3 device, which is a router. And so I'll be doing that, and DHCP. Show you how to set up DHCP in a Cisco router. So that'll be later for sure.